Hello, my name is Mrs. Kravchak. I am the gifted resource teacher at your child's school. And I first want to say thank you for taking a few minutes to watch this short video. I'm hoping it can help you better understand the process for applications and testing and identification of gifted students in Virginia Beach. This workshop is designed to assist parents in better understanding the process for Grade 1 applications and identification. I'm hoping it will also help you see the value of your input on the application. We will be looking at 5 steps in this process, including screening, application, testing, eligibility, and notification and placement. The first step in the application and identification process is screening. Every first grade student enrolled in VBCPS is screened at their school by an assessment specialist from the Gifted Testing Office. Our students were screened in October. The screening instrument is called the Naglieri Nonverbal Ability Test. The NNAT is described by the publisher as a culture fair test that is fair across gender, race, and ethnicity. The instrument uses shapes that are universal in nature. Parents may access their child's screening score using Parent Portal. If you have any questions about Parent Portal, I would get in touch with the front office. They can walk you through the steps to get you signed up. The second step in the process is the completion of the online application by the parents. Students who score at the 90th percentile or above on the screening instrument are recommended for further evaluation and consideration by the Gifted Identification and Placement Committee. Parents, guardians, teachers, or others with knowledge of the child's abilities may also refer the student for consideration by the Gifted Identification and Placement Committee, even if the score doesn't reach that 90th percentile. It's important to note that students who are not referred by a parent or a teacher or the screening results may be referred at a later date. Testing should take place when it is most appropriate for student success. The submitted application by the parent or guardian begins the next step in the process. Parents who wish to have their child considered for selection at Old Donation School need to indicate this by checking the box on the online application. So the screen you see in front of you is very similar to the screen that you'll see when you begin the online application for your child. You can select Gifted Identification, which means that your child will still attend the home school but will be placed in a gifted cluster classroom and receive gifted services at their home school. Or you can check that box along with Old Donation School Intellectual Program. And if that box is checked, it means that once identified, your child's application will go to another committee to determine acceptance into Old Donation School. If you are wondering about Old Donation School and want more information, they are having an open house Tuesday, January 8th from 5 to 6 p.m. at Old Donation School, and it would be a great way for you to see the school and really understand what they do there and make that decision. So once the application is submitted, though, the decision to apply for Old Donation School cannot be changed, and the student, if identified for gifted services, will not be considered for Old Donation School. So before you complete and submit your application, you will need to make the decision as to whether or not you would like to apply to ODS. The online application asks you to reflect upon, rate, and provide specific examples of student behaviors in 4 areas related to the characteristics of gifted learners. It is important to understand that the Gifted Identification and Placement Committee needs specific insight about your child. What you see on the screen in front of you are 2 portions of the rating scale part of the application. So it's going to ask you to rate your child on a variety of gifted behaviors. As you go through these different behaviors and you're reading the examples for the rating scale, think about whether or not your child shows these almost always, often, occasionally, rarely, or never. And also think, if I'm marking almost always, do I have some examples, or can I think of some ways to describe in more detail how my child shows this? It's okay if you want to mark often or occasionally, and it's okay to also think about why you would mark often or only occasionally, and add those details in later. As I said before, the rating scale, it's broken into 4 sections. The first section asks you about your child being an intense learner. So what they mean by intense learner, this is a child that is goal-oriented, maybe a child that thinks about their strengths and their weaknesses and wants to learn more about things they're interested in or things that they don't know. This is a child that makes plans for completing tasks, or one that asks questions about real world issues or shows concern for things that are going on in the world. This is a child that is intensely focused on things or very passionate about learning. The second portion asks you to rate your child on analytical thinking. So this is a child that makes connections, explains relationships, sees how things go together. They notice patterns. They use reasoning to defend their ideas. They might categorize their toys or classify things. They understand topics and concepts that you wouldn't expect a 6-year-old to really understand, and they learn very quickly. The third part of the application asks about your child's creative thinking. So what they're looking for here, examples of how your child loves to explore or experiment or invent. Examples of ways that your child has shown curiosity, maybe through questioning, asking about things that you don't really expect a 6-year-old to ask about. This is also a child that is flexible in their thinking. They have lots of ideas. They come up with lots of different ways to do things. They may also be a storyteller, adding lots of details and really elaborating when they tell you things. The final portion of the rating scales is going to ask you about your child's motivation. So it's going to ask you to think of examples of ways your child exceeds expectations when interested. Does your child communicate well in groups? Is your child respected by their peers? Are they a leader often in peer groups? Think about times that your child does things outside of school. Maybe it's Boy Scouts, maybe it's sports, maybe it's just playing with their cousins. Do they assume a leadership role, but do they also know how to relinquish that role and work well with others? As the parent or guardian, it's likely that you are the person who knows your child best outside of the school setting. The input you provide on the online application is of great value, since it allows the Gifted Identification and Placement Committee to truly see your child. Since it's not realistic for the committee to observe and interview every child who applies for gifted services, it's the input on this application that really lets the committee know the potential and or demonstrated abilities of your child outside of the school setting. I wanted to highlight a couple things that you'll see on this portion of the application. You see that this is the place where you add those additional comments, where you give those examples of places that you rated high on the previous rating scale portion of the application. I also wanted to highlight that there's a 5,000 character limit. So the more you write, the more examples you give, the more description, the better the committee will be able to see your child. The other tip I wanted to highlight is that if you need additional time or you want to really think and process before you submit, you may want to type it into Word or Notepad or Google Docs, and then you can copy and paste what you write directly into the application. Here I've given you 2 examples of the additional comments portion of the application by 2 different parents. The one in the back is very basic. It gives a couple little comments, but it doesn't give the details that the committee is really looking for. So you can see the one in the front, I've circled a couple areas that it gives those specific examples, the model of the planets and the telescope and wanting to go to the planetarium. The examples of the stories and the embellishment and the way that they want to share that. Or the times that a child actually felt something and expressed those feelings in a way that showed that concern for fairness. So I totally understand if this can seem a little daunting, knowing what to write, what to say, how to describe. I do want you to know that I, as the gifted resource teacher, I am here for you. I am happy to meet with any parents. I am happy to set up a time before, during, or after school where we can get together and talk about your child. I know all of our first graders. I see them all weekly. So I will be able to sit down with you and help you think about what you want to write, how you can word things, how you can elaborate to really make sure the committee gets a good picture of your child at home and you're really showing them the strengths that your child has. The online application for first grade students is due March 1st by 4 p.m. Students that have a submitted application are tested using the COGAT, the Cognitive Abilities Test, by assessment specialists from the Gifted Testing Office here at school. Our current date for testing is March 26th. Those students that have a submitted complete online application will get notification before that testing date. There really isn't any way to prepare for the test, so the best thing you can do for your child is make sure they get a good night's sleep and they eat a good breakfast on the day of their testing. All of this information, the test scores, the parent referral, the teacher input, all of it, then goes before the Gifted Identification and Placement Committee. This committee is made of school personnel who have knowledge of gifted education. It could be administrators, guidance counselors, gifted resource teachers from different levels, gifted assessment specialists, psychologists. These committee members thoroughly review all the data on the student application using a profile or multi-criteria approach. With this process, no one piece of information can identify a student for gifted services, and no one piece of information can prevent a child from being identified. Based upon the information presented, the committee members determine if the student requires gifted services. Students identified for the intellectually gifted program are students who have outstanding abilities, are capable of high performance, and who require differentiated educational programs beyond those normally provided by regular school programs. After this committee meets, parents will be notified by email of the decision, and they may access their child's testing information on Parent Portal. The email address that you put into the application will be the email address that is used to communicate with you after the committee meets. Identified students receive gifted services through the resource cluster model in their neighborhood school or at Old Donation School. First grade students could also be placed on hold, and these students receive gifted services in a second grade cluster classroom where additional data is gathered. For students placed on hold, an online application must also be submitted while the child is in second grade if they wish their child to be considered for gifted services in grade 3. Once identified for gifted services in VBCPS, students hold this identification until they graduate. So, again, in summary, if your child is identified as eligible for gifted services and does not attend Old Donation School, they will receive gifted services in a gifted cluster classroom. If your child is accepted into Old Donation School, your child would then not attend the homeschool anymore. Your child would attend Old Donation School to receive gifted services. If you have any questions about the application or testing or identification, please feel free to reach out. I am more than happy to help. The number here is the school number. I've also given my email address. Email is probably the best way to get in contact with me. If you have any questions that I cannot answer, the Gifted Testing Office is also very happy to help any parents. Again, thank you for taking the time to watch and listen to everything related to gifted applications and testing and identification. In the email that you initially found this link, you may also find a link for a survey to let us know if this was helpful or if there's any way that we can improve getting this information to you. Again, please feel free to reach out. We are here to help, and we are excited to answer questions and to talk about any of our fantastic first graders. Let me know if I can help in any way.